Didi pops that one into the opposite field. Ozuna's got it. Bohm's going to try it. Here he comes, and he's safe at the plate. Wow! On a shallow fly ball into left field. They roll the dice with Ozuna's arm, and Bohm is able to score on a bang-bang play at the plate.
Shallow left field. The throw.
Wow. Oh, I don't know. Man, it's close. It might have looked like Bohm's foot came up.
Or was he? Or was he safe at the plate? Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad to have you along here on this Monday, and obviously around Braves Nation. Hey, we're still waiting for Bohm to touch the plate, man. Right? Hey, he's not there yet. He's not there. Didn't touch the plate. But the Braves take 2 of 3, and it really took 3 of 3. I did appreciate Braves Twitter last night say final score Phillies 7, Braves 6, apparently. So Braves a little salty about that. But all in all, this is a team that started out 0-4 and was potentially on the precipice of a 5-game win streak last night, BJ, before. Again, the game was tied, so can't just assume they were going to win. But you're at home, had the top part of your order coming up. It was set up for a sweep of the Phillies, and then just the worst of the worst. Hey, that's why we have all these cameras, all this replay, and then you don't get it right.
Yeah, first and foremost, it was good to see some of the bats, come alive and, some better production throughout the lineup. Ronald Acuna continues to amaze. I mean, just when you think he's reached a point where he can't get any better, I mean, he's as good as anybody in baseball. He goes out and he's even better than that. I mean, he is must-see TV, must-listen-to radio. Every time he steps to the plate, something magical is about to happen. But, yeah, Kevin, I mean, I think I speak for Ben. When things happen in baseball, we come to you for clarity. We look to you for guidance. We look to you to help us understand, hey, why are they making this pitching change? Or is this slump okay? Or you had to tell me, hey, 0-4, it's all right. Explain this to me. Like, it's one thing if you don't have replay. I get it. But you have replay. You go back to a couple of different angles. And correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't the umpires on the field who made the call. It was the review crew, away from the facility. But you're looking at replays. You can clearly see he did not touch home plate. He did not touch home plate. That is inarguable. So why was it ruled a run? You've got to explain that to me.
You're coming to me for clarity. I thought we had clarity on the video monitor last night, but apparently we didn't. And again, if you watch it in real speed, I don't fault the home plate ump for getting it wrong. I mean, it was bang, bang. Was the ball there? Did d'Arnaud get the tag on him? Okay, I can see where maybe you missed that in real time. But you slow it down with multiple camera angles, and you see the foot hit pop over the plate and hit on the other side. Like, what more do you need to see at that point? And I think it says all you need to say about MLB and their replay right now that, I mean, you had player after player on Twitter, social media last night going, ooh, that was bad. Like, how do you miss that call? And several, not just the Braves, saying, like, what are we doing? Like, why are we disrupting the game for 4 and 5 minutes for that? Like, just get it wrong and let's move on. I mean, if that's what we're going to do. So I don't know, man. I was like, and I think with everything, replay has been both a blessing and a curse in a lot of sports. We'll get to that later. But I mean, last night, it kind of overshadowed a tremendous series by the Atlanta Braves, right? Because they came home, played tremendous baseball. Now you have the Marlins for 4 games, a chance to really get well against a team that's improved, but you're still better than. But, man, nobody's talking about Friday night, Saturday night, where the Braves played really well and really played pretty good last night, all things considered. Everybody's talking about the hose job at home plate by Major League Baseball, and I think it kind of overshadows what kind of a good weekend the Braves actually had against the Phillies after getting swept not even a week ago.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, Kevin, I think what Major League Baseball is showing is, I mean, the umps are paid to do a job, get the job wrong. Go to New York, they get it wrong. The team that you get it wrong against loses, and you move on. That's like you're there for nothing. Like, it's like, and I understand, yes, in real time, Kevin, things happen really fast. He missed it. They go to New York, they get it wrong. The Braves lose. And I know, BJ, I was talking about if it come down to the Braves missing the playoffs by 1 game, that could definitely be, potentially, happening down the line. But I don't get this part. If my job is to call the game, And sometimes I miss it. Then it goes to New York. If you've ever seen an NFL game, they go to New York. The guys in New York, they usually get it wrong in football too. Yeah, it's probably going to be overturned. The call on the field stands. It's almost like, what is the purpose of New York? Or what is the purpose of going to like somebody higher up, they're just going to get it wrong because games are too precious and they are too hard to win to have something like this happen. I understand human error is a part of the game. That's why you got human beings playing it. I get it. The missed it. Boom. Go New York. They missed it. Game over. And I'm thinking to myself, you seeing some of the big names because Kevin, you notice it's two totally different teams that it's happening to. So who's going to be the next set of teams that it happens to? That's what I'm talking about. Bigger than the error is so basically the MLB investigated itself, found no wrongdoings. Let's move on to the next game. I think that's the crazy part moving forward.
Well, I mean, I'll share my opinion here on it in just a little bit. As far as that's concerned, I know people are like, why doesn't MLB make a statement? Why don't they do that? I'll get to that in just a minute. But obviously the Braves were less than pleased. Last night we got some comments from guys after the game. Here's manager Brian Snitker after the ball game last night.
What you saw, did you ever see him touch the plate? Yeah. Pretty tough to score a run when you don't touch the plate, correct?
Correct. That's why. I mean, we had an angle that I saw he didn't, because I wondered till I saw a certain angle, then I was confirmed what I thought, that he didn't touch the plate.
Yes, Nate, will you or someone from your staff, front office, et cetera, try to reach out to the front office in New York just to get an explanation? Because obviously you said you didn't have anything.
Yeah, we'll probably pursue that.
Yeah, I mean, but again, and this is the problem with that. Okay, pursue it. What's the end result? You still take the L and you have to move on. So we'll see. But obviously, Brian Snitker having to toe that line about what you can and can't say about certain things. And I think kind of underscored he did get tossed out of the game last night when all that happened. Here was starting pitcher Drew Smiley after the game on that call at the plate.
It's a shame to end a game like that. It's, in real time, it's obviously bang, bang. Lance is right there in position, making the best call he can. But then we have 5 different angles on a national televised game. And it's clear that his foot didn't touch the plate, that it was on the chalk. Everyone saw it and sees it. Everyone knows it. And for MLB not to overturn that, it's embarrassing. Why even have replay if you won't overturn that? So that's the way I feel about it. I think everybody feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is to get the call right. And usually when you see controversial calls, sometimes you say, well, I could see where it was bang, bang, and they slowed down a video. It's the same time. Or maybe in football sometimes, hey, there's bodies everywhere. You can't tell one way or another. Okay, but there was no other side to this last night. I mean, you go on social media. I mean, unless you were cheering for Bryce Harper, the Phillies, and I mean, pretty much everybody else was like, yeah, dude, like, you got to touch the plate to score a run. Like that's pretty basic, and you didn't get it right.
And I echo the sentiments of Drew Smiley. It's one thing to miss a call, and Ben, I'm sure you've been a part of this countless times during your career. When something happens so fast, yeah, everybody understands it, of course, and that's why you have replay. But then to go to replay, to have multiple angles, it's not like for whatever reason you had one angle and it was kind of blocked and you couldn't get a clear view. Multiple angles, clear angles. A clear result. The home base was not tagged. How can you uphold it? I mean, Ben, you got to explain that to me, man. I don't understand it.
Sometimes, I mean, when it comes to MLB, it's kind of like that hierarchy. Once I go to somebody higher than me, I'm just going to live with whatever they say. I might not like it, might not agree with it, or it might not actually be what happened. It's like look at Snit. Look at the way Snit is answering questions. He's being very politically correct because I don't want to get fined. We know they got it wrong. The world know they got it wrong, but I think it's almost like the umps, MLB, they work, right there together. So they want to be able to say, look, whatever. And the umpers say, I missed it. So whatever they go up there, if they would have said, listen, obviously he was out, he would have went with it. But I'm trying to understand. So what are we doing? You want us to just see it in slow motion? For then you say, oh, okay, he was out. But they call. I think that's Bush League stuff. That shouldn't even happen at the major league level. It's like, okay, if we're doing this, we'll throw it out. Because once again, Kevin, we talked about this a week ago. I said, what happens when it's your team? Okay, this is the playoffs. And that happened yesterday. You see
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Because that's what's going to happen. It's almost like once the ump knows that I can get away with a bad call,
I don't know. But see, I don't know if that's the case because to me, if I'm humping home plate and they say, "Hey, it's up for review," fine, check it. If I got it wrong, I got it wrong. Like at that point,
no. I'm not blaming the ump. The ump was gonna live with the fact because the ump gonna live with the fact that he got it wrong. But if New York says, "Hey, man, we gonna live with," because then he got it wrong and they upheld him. Which he was like, well, dude, I shouldn't have called the save. Meaning, so if that would have been called out, they would have kept it out, or would they? No, he was saying, I don't know. Crazy.
Kev, let me ask you this real quick. I mean, if the Braves are in a 1-2-3 game rally to the finish for the playoffs, does this come back up?
Probably. I haven't looked that far down the schedule. It'd be very interesting if they play the Phillies in one of the last couple series of the year. Second next to last series, I was just told they play the Phillies. So, yeah, if it's tight coming down the stretch. Don't think that will get brought up again. Like, oh, hey, remember? And again, I know Atlanta fans acted crazy, but obviously you had that call last night, the infield fly game. I put that in quotation marks into left field that potentially stopped a rally. Now you were losing to the Cardinals at the time, but I think you would have bases loaded and nobody out in that ball game, if memory serves me correctly. So you've had a couple of pretty big plays not made there in Atlanta, but neither here nor there. We got one more clip. This is the guy that actually fielded the ball at home, Travis d'Arnaud. His thoughts on how that went down last night.
From what I saw, throw from Ozuna, nice 2-hop, hit me right in the chest, and I leaned over, applied the tag, blocked the plate after I caught the ball, and initially I didn't know if he was safe or out, just because I had to lunge to the right to make sure I blocked the plate, but after watching the replay, to me, it looked like his foot didn't touch the bag. From any angle we saw, that was shown on the field. Afterward, I saw even more angles, and it didn't look like his foot touched the plate. So I don't know what they saw or didn't see in New York, but I thought he was clearly out at home plate.
Yeah, and so I think you had a lot of guys on the Braves, rightfully so, saying, look, we stopped middle of the ninth inning for 5 minutes to not get it right. And you can even hear, I was listening on radio last night, and you can hear the announcers for the Braves saying, hey, we're going to take a look at this and see what they give us in stadium. And they start talking about it, and instantly you hear all the crowd, because everybody's a replay expert in the stadium. You hear all the crowd, yelling and screaming. So you're like, oh, man, this is obviously must be, pretty obvious overturn here. And then it goes on and on and on. You're like, oh, what? And then they call him safe. So I was like, man, I could see why that place erupted. If you have video evidence, and again, the home crowd's probably going to say he was out, whether he was or wasn't. But like I said, you find it very hard to find the other side of this argument here. And I think it really took away from a great weekend that the Braves had once they got back to Atlanta. The fact that a back and forth game with the Phillies comes down to potentially a great play by either player there. That replay showed it one way, and you didn't get the call right, and I think that's a travesty. So we got more to come. Hey, and we will talk about the rest of the Braves weekend when we come back, because it was quite good, and they may have possibly the best baseball player on the planet right now in Ronald Acuna. We'll break that down next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Love to hear from you on MLB's, decision last night. We'd love to get your thoughts on that. You can see us broadcasting live as well all across the network and, of course, on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I'd love to have you be a part of the show there as well. But again, Braves a 4-game win streak heading into last night's ball game. Really could have been 5, and what a difference it makes. The Braves go to 2 games down when it could have been a game down heading into tonight's game with the Marlins. So a big swing there. But guys, is Ronald Acuna the hottest player in baseball right now? 9 for 13, 2 homers, 2 doubles, 4 RBI in the series against the Phillies. Just a little quick math. That's almost 700 at the plate for Ronald Acuna, which is that's ridiculous. That's like just youth league 8U baseball playing off the wheels type stuff. I mean, it's crazy. And he's hitting almost 700 for a series.
And Ben, I got to ask you this, Kev, with all due respect to your old man basketball, exploits and your success on the court. Ben, you've been in the zone athletically, okay? I think about your junior year against Georgia, your senior year against Florida State, the playoffs against the Chargers. Acuna is feeling it and is everything. I mean, every swing is beautiful. What's it like as an athlete to be in a zone like that?
Oh, well, I'm not comparing myself to Ronald Acuna Jr. by no means, BJ, but I mean, it's a feeling that you hope that most athletes get a chance to go through, because at a certain point you start saying, okay, as a receiver, you got to catch the first pass. All right, if I catch the first one, it's going to be a good day. I think what happens is it's when everything you've done comes together at the right moment. Most of the time, you was getting ready to have a good game, or you were starting to, warm up. I think sometimes every player says the same thing, man, I feel good today. Like it's going to be one of those days. And sometimes it all comes together. That's kind of what sports is. Like Ronald Acuna Jr. has this, man, he has that it factor. Like, I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. can do anything. And that's the thing. Most guys are really good at one thing, and they make sure they really, really good at that. Ronald Acuna Jr., didn't he save a home? I mean, he saved a run. He can steal bases. I mean, he can hit. I mean, he can hit for power. He's got one of the best looking swings since Ken Griffey Jr. Now, I'm not saying Ken Griffey that thing was carved out of a lab when you look at that thing. But BJ, I think what happens is Ronald Acuna Jr. knows he's good, but he knows that he plays like this may be the only time you see him play. That's how he plays. Like, I mean, I think they showed a family that came from like Guatemala to see him, that flew in to see him, hit a home run. Hey, man, the man holding his 5-year-old son saying that's Ronald Acuna. Boom. So I think for me, it was just some, on one of those nights or one of those days, everything just come together. But I can only imagine being able to do it every night of the week. Like, I didn't have a good game last night. Boom. I had a good game, duplicated. But I think Ronald Acuna Jr. from former Braves, current Braves, announcers, other guys around the league, everybody said the same thing. You get to talk to Ronald Acuna Jr. Oh, God, this dude, he can do it all. And I know Mike Trout is the best player. Mike Trout looks like a linebacker. 6'4", 6'3", 230. Ronald Acuna Jr., what, 5'11", 180? So for me, once again, I'm happy he plays for the Braves, and he's a personality. Like, Ronald Acuna Jr. makes you enjoy watching the way he plays, stirring it up. I don't know if it was the second baseman or the shortstop, Kevin, for the Phillies that was playing with Ronald Acuna, that, like, he was like messing with him. He forces other guys on opposing teams to enjoy the game. So I just think that he was in the zone. And I mean, my mom said, who is this Acuna dude? What? Your daddy talking about this Ronald Acuna dude. I said, he's the show enough. That's all you need to know, Mama. Like, she's talking about, he all that in a bag of chips. Every chip in the chip aisle. It's Ronald Acuna. But yeah, I mean, Kevin, like I said, Kevin, you know the game of baseball. And we always gonna say, I know when I see certain players, when you see Ronald Acuna, what's the first thing popping in your head? Obviously he a beast, and that's not something we just throwing out there.
Yeah.
What hasn't he shown you that I guess you still need to see?
Well, I mean, there's not anything. I mean, I think he can carry a team. We've seen that. I think as BJ said, he has become must catch baseball. I mean, that is, if you're a fan of the Braves, if you're not a fan of the Braves, that's a guy you want to watch. I mean, there's few guys around the league that are like that. At times it's even pitchers. Hey, don't want to miss a Kershaw start back in the day, or hey, I got to make sure I catch this Mookie Betts at bat because something's going to happen. We don't get to see a lot of the Mike Trouts because he's on the West Coast, so it's like, hey, I'm going to stay up at 10:30 at night and hope I get to watch Mike Trout bat once before I pass out on the couch. But by and large, I mean, to me, he's much watched TV. It would be something similar if you're just a huge baseball fan. It is, hey, when's DeGrom pitching? Because I want to watch that. Why? Because nobody's going to get a hit. Probably that's why. But yeah, to me, it is I don't care if it's a pop out to right field. Anytime he steps in the box, you feel like something special could happen and get the rally started. And I think that's why he's become one of the better players, if not the best player in Major League Baseball, and certainly one of the most exciting guys to tune in and watch because you just feel like something special could happen with him at the plate. And maybe there's in individual fan bases, there's a guy that's like that on every team. Hey, he's our best player. I want to see what happens when he comes to the plate. I mean, it's every time. And you think about one of the outs he made. He was 9 of 13. 9 of 13. And one of those outs was a sac fly to right field in which he got an RBI. So it's like even when he made an out, something good happened. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to hit 800 for the season. But I think, BJ, rare are sports moments like that where you get a guy that it's like, I got to watch. I got to see what's about to happen, and he has certainly been one of those in the early season here in Major League Baseball.
And one thing that stands out to me, I don't know if you guys agree, but when you see home runs hit in baseball, right, a lot of times it's, oh, that's a drive, and you stand up or you start to pay attention, and it kind of develops, right? It's deep. Back goes the outfielder to the wall, to the track. Acuña's swing is so fluid. When he hits a home run, it's swing, home run. It's like there's no build the anticipation. There's no wait a second, wait 2 seconds to see how far back, see if the wind catches it. When he swings and he connects, you're sitting there eating a sandwich, watching TV or what, home run, you know. Or if you're listening on the radio, Ben Ingram or whoever, it's swing, gone, like you know, because it's so fluid. And that's not to take away from any of the other home runs, like a home run, beautiful. But when Ronald Acuña hits a home run, and I think he hit one 450 on Friday to so deep in center field, it was outside of the TV screen. I mean, some of these home runs are just majestic, and that has been so much fun to watch.
And I mean, him being the leadoff. I mean, I like it. I mean, I will say this. I mean, I don't usually give Twitter a lot of love because it's both good, bad, and ugly on there. But everybody was saying that didn't take long. I mean, his first at bat for bam. I mean, and the thing is, I know that the pitcher has to just out of respect, look to make sure it is going out. They look for a second, man. Give me another ball, man. That thing is out of here. But no, like I said, I mean, it's something you said, Kevin. Much watch baseball. I mean, he's a guy. Think about it. If you're 5 or 6, man, 20 years, man, when introduced you to a dude named Ronald Acuña? It's almost like you're like, what? That's how. But the thing is, that's who we introduced. Yeah. But the problem is he's a mythical character that's a real person. Like he can really, but I just love the way Ronald Acuña Jr. played because people think, I mean, you got to be this consummate professional. No, man, his teammates love him. He loves them, that energy that he brings. Ozzie got it to the act. Like, look, man, I ain't finna be on the one over here. Now you're having no home runs. And didn't he throw Bryce Harper out one time to do what you? And to me, Bryce didn't even look at him like taking his stuff off, man. This dude right here. That's right.
Here's what I wanted to ask both of you guys, because Ben, you've been around hyped athletes. Kev, if you remember, we used to interview people a long time ago, Ben, where we would have analysts back when Acuña was in the minors say, this is the best prospect ever. And I would look around like, ever? And they would say, yeah, there are a lot of scouts who say he's the best prospect ever. And even for guys like that, it takes time. There are ups and downs. I mean, he almost went 40-40. He's got the Braves in the playoffs. He's hitting grand slams against the Dodgers. I mean, there aren't many athletes, especially in a sport like baseball, where it's a sport kind of based on failure, and normally you have the ups and downs. I can't think of many guys who have come right up with that hype and it just dominated consistently.
Yeah, the moment hasn't been too big, and he hasn't been too big for the moment. The moment hasn't been too big for him with his young career. I mean, he had a little struggles early on in his career. He got hurt. If you remember his rookie season in 2019, came back and finished with a flurry. And since then, maybe didn't have the 2020 that he expected, but I mean, who did for the most part in 2020? But he has come out of the gate on fire. And I think a big reason why the Braves have turned a corner. And I'll be interested to see what happens next 4 nights against the Marlins. Could this Braves team be in first place before the weekend gets here. Yeah, quite the story, quite the ride. Speaking of this weekend, G-Day game coming up in Athens. Connor Riley, Dog Nation, going to join us when we return. We'll talk about what to look for this weekend. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you were with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, as well on your mobile device with the ESPN app. G-Day coming up this Saturday there in Athens. Joining us from Dog Nation to talk about what to expect this Saturday, Connor Riley joins us here on 3 and Out. Connor, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yep, doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. Glad this time this year we get to talk about some Georgia spring football.
Certainly, and again, that's obviously the big thing. I guess first and foremost that they get to have spring as opposed to last year. What do we expect to see on Saturday? What's the biggest thing you're looking for? Although I know they like to play it close to the vest, what's the biggest thing you're looking for on Saturday?
Yeah, I think that the three things that really will stand out to me will be, one, like how does JT Daniels look? More practice time. Obviously, there are injuries at wide receiver, but does he improve on some of the little things he could have improved on from the end of last season? Two, how does the backup quarterback situation look? Carson Beck from Jacksonville has played really well this spring, and I think if he punctuates his spring with a strong G-Day performance, I think it could say a lot about both his future and what the backup quarterback spot for Georgia looks like. And three, Kendall Milton is another guy who's played very, very well this spring. How does he sort of factor into the running back rotation, and how does he sort of figure a way to end spring practice?
I know there are some questions schematically about what Georgia might look like this fall, what they hope to look like. Will some of those questions be answered in the spring game? And potentially, do you think this could be a little bit different offense than what we saw last year?
So yes and no, because traditionally in the past, while Georgia has been a run-heavy team, they've wanted to throw the ball a lot during their spring games. And I expect that to be the case once again. I would say the thing to really look for on this coming Saturday is Kirby Smart mentioned this in his press conference last week. He wants Georgia to be a vertical passing offense. He didn't say spread, air raid, run and gun, whatever terminology you want to use. He wants a downfield attacking style, something Todd Monken has done quite often in his time as an offensive coordinator and play caller. And I think that's the thing that I'll be looking for. How often and frequent is Georgia trying to make those 20, 25, 30-yard passes downfield? Because you have to do those in practice if on September 4th when Georgia plays Clemson, you want to go out and execute that. So I think that vertical passing game, those deep shots, against inexperienced corners, which Georgia is going to have to get better at, I think that's really the thing schematically that I'm looking for this Saturday.
And Connor, you just mentioned it a little bit. I mean, I talk about that inexperience at the cornerback position and how much is all eyes going to be on that secondary, even if they're dealing with some receivers who are banged up.
Yeah, I think the safeties are going to be fine. Lewis Cine and Christopher Smith both have a ton of experience. And then obviously they're bringing in Tyke Smith, who I think is going to play the star position. But yeah, the cornerback position, they're very raw. They have not had a lot of experience, 0 career starts from any of the guys that will be playing back there. I think it'll be our first real chance to get our eyes on Keely Ringo, Nyland Green, Jalen Kimber, all forming highly recruited players and guys who have athletic tools to flash. But it's different when, even from past scrimmages, there'll be a ton of fans in the stands, or relatively speaking, eyes on them, seeing how they're going to perform and play. And they've still got a long way to go before that season opener against Clemson. But I think this will be a nice first step for a lot of those guys if they want to be starting cornerbacks for Georgia.
Connor, I akin spring games kind of somewhat to the Senior Bowl. Does it necessarily matter what happens on Saturday, or more so what's happened in the other practices we can't see?
Yeah, I think don't draw too many big conclusions from Saturday in and of itself. I think the 14 prior practices to Saturday are much more important, especially in terms of development. There might be guys that they hold out of G-Day just because of injuries and whatnot, but even say a guy like Jermaine Burton, a guy who would really continue to develop his chemistry with JT Daniels in the early portions of spring practice. He's not going to be able to play in the scrimmage on Saturday, but what he did prior to hyperextending his knee, I think is going to speak a lot more than what he would potentially be able to do out there on G-Day.
And you mentioned Burton. I mean, this wide receiver group, who is the spotlight going to be on Saturday in the scrimmage at the wide receiver position?
So with no Jermaine Burton, I think the guy I'm the most interested to see is Arian Smith. Because Kearis Jackson, we know what he is. He's dependable, reliable, consistent, all the things I think you really look for in a veteran receiver. Arian Smith is a guy who last year didn't play much early in the season, but sort of came on as the season got going. And the thing he has that no one else in that receiver room has, even if George Pickens is healthy, he is by far the fastest player in that room. He can be a true deep threat. And with Georgia wanting to get more involved in the vertical passing game, he's absolutely someone who has to become a key part of this offense. So I expect to see Georgia try and take 6 or 7 deep shots to Arian Smith. And if he's able to come down with a few of those, I think that's a great sign for how he is progressing towards this fall.
And Connor, you talked about, Bilton factoring in, with the running back position. Are they going to be more involved in the passing game this year with a guy like JT Daniels, who they definitely look to push the ball down the field?
Yeah, with G-Day, I'm not sure how involved they might be other than James Cook, but he is almost a separate, category of running back. Kirby Smart has talked about wanting to get better in pass protection. So I would expect to see Zamir White, Kendall Milton, Dejon Edwards do a good bit of that. But I think James Cook is his own separate thing because he can be a guy that can catch passes out of the backfield, but he can also split him out wide like you saw Georgia did against Alabama last year for a touchdown. So while I'll be interested to see how much, say, Kendall Milton or Zamir White are catching passes, I think on Saturday for those guys, how they hold up in pass protection is going to be much more important.
Connor Riley, Dog Nation, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Connor, you look at someone from our neck of the woods, Nolan Smith. Is this a make or break year for Nolan on the defensive side to really have a huge year?
Yeah, they absolutely need him to be the player everyone thought he was going to be when he got to Georgia. And while he hasn't had the sacks or production, it's worth keeping in mind he was playing behind a guy who's going to be a first-round draft pick in Azeez Ojulari. And when Nolan Smith has gotten on the field, he has impressed and made plays. But now I think he's got a clear opportunity, and with Georgia changing its defense to be a little bit more attacking, certainly starting last year, and I expect that to continue. I think this is the year where we start to see, I don't know if he can get to double digits like maybe Adam Anderson can, but can he get to 6, 7 sacks and really make a mark and show that, hey, this is why he was such a highly touted recruit. It'll be tough on G-Day just because they're not going to have them hit quarterbacks, but I would expect big things from Nolan Smith, and Georgia absolutely needs him to become that sort of player.
Well, looking ahead to this fall, Connor, with guys like Smith back, you think about Davis and others, how dominant can this front seven be?
I think it can be the best front seven, not just in the SEC, but in the entire country. They were number 1 in the country in run defense last year. Yes, they do have to replace Azeez Ojulari. Monty Rice is a big player back there, but they have a ton of talent in that front seven, not just star potential with guys like Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, we touch on Jordan Davis, Walker as well, we throw out there. They have legitimate depth behind that, and it is absolutely going to be a difference maker for Georgia because as inexperienced as that secondary is, I don't know, maybe other than Clemson and potentially Alabama, how many teams have a better front seven than Georgia?
And Connor, a lot has been said about Kirby Smart being a little bit more upbeat this spring. Obviously didn't have it last year. Have you noticed that in him? And do you think that's something he's going to try to implement, when the fall gets here?
Yeah, I think Kirby very much likes and enjoys the fact that he's no longer really having to navigate the ins and outs of the pandemic. And I can say, just with everything that went on, even beyond the pandemic, with the quarterback situation last year, Jamie Newman opting out, it was a very difficult year for Kirby Smart. But I think he truly learned some things and showed later on in the season, like, hey, I know I have to change how I coach and go about doing things. And I do think that showed up a little bit on the field. And so if you can continue to make those strides and steps, I think what Kirby Smart has done so far this spring, I think you're going to see Georgia take the steps needed to get to where Alabama and Clemson currently reside in the college football pecking order.
Connor Riley, Dog Nation, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Connor, just from that standpoint, when you mentioned changing the way you coach, is that something you kind of have to develop? Because, again, Georgia is a good team. And obviously, hey, I want to go out there and win every game. But when you're trying to be the Alabama, the Clemson, where the goal is college football playoff, national championship or bust, do you have to change the way you coach week to week in order to get there?
I think the tough thing for Kirby is, first-time head coach starting in that 2016 season, it gets to college football playoff his second year, coaching a way that Nick Saban had coached for a long time, Urban Meyer, a lot of those guys had coached. And then I think around Tua Tagovailoa, that 2018 season, the sport just completely changes, and you have to have a dominant offense that can go out and score 45 points. And that runs counter to everything that Kirby Smart has come up in his 40-plus years as a coach, or 40-plus years of life as a coach. So that's certainly an adjustment, but I think he understands that, which not every coach has. Coaches just tend to be stubborn in nature. And so I think he is making the necessary changes to say, obviously, we still want to play a certain way, but we can be flexible enough to score 45 points and hold opposing teams to under 20.
Connor, obviously Georgia opens with Clemson. I know they did that a couple of years back, but given the national hype already around that game and the playoff implications potentially, is that added extra energy to spring, or is that so far off it hasn't really registered yet?
I would say it's probably so far off that it hasn't truly registered yet. They're all aware of it, obviously, and that's going to be a huge statement game. But I think the Georgia coaching staff wanted to really emphasize, hey, let's not worry about the teams we have on our schedule, specifically that first one, which will be the toughest game Georgia plays in the regular season. But they know they have enough stuff to work on their own that they can't really let Clemson dictate how they're going to go about having practice this spring. And I would even say the first couple of weeks fall as well.
Dog Nation, our guest here on 3 and Out. Connor, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Yep, as always, it was a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Connor Riley joining us here on 3 and Out, and obviously a lot to look forward to there with Georgia and their G-Day game. BJ and Ben, as the expectations as high as they've been there at Athens for this team to compete for the playoffs and the national championship.
How do you handle expectations, Ben? Because everybody, the preseason polls, top 5, top 3, you got Clemson. Is that something you can kind of compartmentalize, or is it just so there that you have to embrace it?
I think you have to do both, BJ. We be forgetting the fact that these are 18 to 24-year-old young men who they got so much more attention on them because we got so much more access to them. Putting your head down and just going to work is the easiest thing to do, but that's what coaches say. That's coach speak. Coaches don't have to deal with the fact that, you get these big-time, high-profile, 5-star athletes and you expect them to put their head down and not read the papers. No, that's just a part of it. But that's also a big reason why you don't meet them, because you look at all this stuff, didn't play that well, didn't do this. JT Daniels did not grow up a Georgia Bulldog fan. I guarantee you that. He's a Georgia Bulldog now, and now he sees what it's like to be in the SEC with the hype coming in. Monkey got his man and seeing himself on the front cover of Dog Nation and all this. We're going to see, man. As I say, man, pressure is a privilege, but that's Kirby Smart saying that. We're going to see if it's a privilege when it comes to JT Daniels, which it is just a G-Day game. I am rooting for the young man, just not one Saturday in October.
We got more to come here on 3 and Out on this Monday, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. A familiar face, a football legend back in the coaching. We'll also chat with Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, about the Masters, which wrapped up late yesterday evening. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We'll take three right around the corner. Also, Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, will join us as we'll recap the Masters. Also, the RBC Heritage going on this weekend on Hilton Head. So we'll talk about that as well with Rich. But another legend back into the coaching game, or into the coaching game, I should say, fellas. Eddie George, going to be the head coach at Tennessee State. So between you got Dion and Eddie George, I think they're actually going to coach against each other in the fall when they play in the Southern Heritage Classic. So a guy, Ben, I say you almost played with, right? Because he retired as you came in the league, but into the coaching game there at Tennessee State.
Yeah, I'm extremely happy for Tennessee State. BJ sent me the news. Obviously, Eddie George. I mean, you talk about a great player, great career. Heisman Trophy winner, number 27, retired. For the Tennessee Titans, the second greatest Titan of all time behind Steve McNair. But I think that you're looking at the Deion Sanders effect on the HBCU circuit. Now, Deion Sanders is not the first great athlete. Greg Ellis, that got drafted out of North Carolina, was the first to actually coach at an HBCU, but not the high profile of a Deion, definitely not the high profile of of Eddie George. But BJ, I am happy for Tennessee State, and I'm happy for the profile of HBCUs. You look at, if it wouldn't have been for COVID, they've added a combine in Miami. Obviously got a Celebration Bowl. They've added a Legacy Bowl in New Orleans. Now you adding guys. Somebody said Norfolk State. They said, you think Michael Vick and Allen Iverson going to go there? I said, don't rule it out. Do not. Oh my God, if Michael Vick went to Norfolk State, I know that's in Virginia. I know exactly where in Virginia, but I am happy for the HBCU.
It's in Norfolk, Virginia.
What?
It's in Norfolk, Virginia.
Right, exactly. It's in the north of folk, people, Virginia. But no. I am happy, for TSU. I hope that it boosts their profile, because Dion wants nothing more than to embarrass them TSU boys. But shout out to Antonio Raj-Camardi, who I think is the biggest alum of TSU. He's on that. He's going to be on that TSU staff, headed up by Eddie George.
No, and it's great to see. Greats for the HBCU circuit. And Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, TSU is right down from where the Titans facility is, right?
Yeah, it's about. I mean, it's within like 5 minutes driving. But I'm happy for a guy like like Eddie George. I mean, I don't think he has any coaching experience, but I mean, who don't know who Eddie George is in football? Who definitely don't know him in Nashville? I think it's gonna definitely boost it, the reputation of TSU. BJ, just like I know, it's all fun and games at press conferences. When you get out there on that field, you got to produce, because they're gonna be, especially in the running game. I'm rooting for them. But I'm looking forward to Dion and Eddie George squaring off against each other in the fall.
Yes, reportedly Hugh Jackson, his top target for offensive coordinator, and an old pal of yours, Ben, Jeff Fisher, apparently being brought on as an advisor. So I make a face.
Now hold on, you talking? That's beautiful though. Guy that gave me my job. Hey man, I got a couple of dollars, not a lot. We got about $20, $30. Come on over and holler at us, man.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll take 3 when we return. Also, Rich Stiles talking Masters in hour number 2 as well. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Love to hear from you on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Good to have you along here. 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Hour 2. A lot to get to here this hour, including what is the biggest rivalry in the SEC on the football side. Paul Feinbaum's got an interesting choice for his. We'll discuss that. Also, Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, will join us. We'll break down the Masters. Hideki Matsuyama wins the 85th Masters at 10 under, the first Japanese golfer to win a men's major championship. So we'll talk with Rich coming up in just a little bit. But first, it's 4 o'clock. Let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas. What is your favorite moment from the Masters? Christian said at the end.
We were talking about this in the show meeting. I think, Lee Elder, him being honored, recognized, first black competitor at the Masters, been a number of community recognitions for him, in addition to being a part of the ceremonial first tee. I thought the emotion, the support, the recognition, long overdue, that was very powerful and meaningful and was really, really cool and special to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is Lee Elder. I mean, when you look at the fact that he's 86 years old, I think he got and then he got to go out there and join Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player as an honorary starter before the first round. He also got an honorary degree from Payne College, a college that my sister graduated from. I think April 6th is been designated as a Lee Elder Day. And the thing is, this is 46 years after teeing off. Most people don't live to see, their flowers give to them while they're living. But great, just a great moment for the Masters to be able to honor a guy like Lee Elder. I know obviously Tiger Woods took over the game. There is no Tiger Woods, not even thought of without a guy like Lee Elder. So it's definitely got to be one of the highlights. But he said it was a great gesture and a great moment. And the mayor of Augusta, Hardy Davis, said he is someone whose broad shoulders we stand upon. So when you talk about the city of Augusta and what he meant, it's got to be Lee Elder, man. 86 years young, as my great grandfather would say. Being honored at the Masters got to be my favorite moment.
I thought the end was Christian had it down as his, where the caddy for Matsuyama kind of did the bow to the course when it was all said and done. A nice moment there at the end, but also Dustin Johnson. I know Christian said he won the Soft Masters back in November, but not making a chip in on 18 on Friday to not make it. And then you just got to hang out for a couple days and put the green jacket on somebody else. That's always an interesting moment there when the Masters is over as well. Take 2. What is the equivalent of Augusta National in other sports? Obviously, the hallowed place of the golf world. What's an equivalent in another sport if we have one?
Yeah, the first facility that comes to mind for me is the Rose Bowl. And you could probably say the Coliseum there in LA as well. But I think those two facilities immediately come to mind. You can make an argument for Madison Square Garden, but Ben, you have to say Madison Square Garden only because I want you to share what incredible event you saw at that venue.
So obviously, when people think Madison Square, they think the Big East tournament, they think the rivalries with the Bulls, in the Chicago, in the Knicks. But for me,
boxing,
it is
all kind of stuff.
Boxing, yeah. But for me, I lived up there in New Jersey, New York area. I said, I'm going to Madison Square. I'm about to go see old Tim Hardaway Jr. No. I was there for Elmo on Ice. Now, I know a lot of you are saying Elmo on Ice. Let me tell y'all something. LeBron James, who? Barack Obama, who? Let me tell you something. You got every different walk of life in there. Every continent was in Madison Square with their children. Everyone. Everybody's saying this and saying that. You heard this la 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 la, and these kids flooded the freaking stage. Listen, Elmo's so used to this, and Elmo said, "Hey, back up." He's telling them, "I know I'm the man." And mind you, at first I was like, "Yeah, get you," but then I realized I'm hearing everybody's yelling out their kids' names. So people talk about star power. Listen, man, if you ain't all red with an orange mouth and your name ain't Elmo, you better get in the game, man. I'm telling you. And that's my only time ever being in Madison Square. Never actually made it to see the Knicks.
Did you feel the magic in Madison Square Garden?
I did. Now, this is the thing. I'm walking in, right? They get your tickets. I'm looking around, man. I'm like, there go Patrick Ewing. For those of you who don't know, they go. Listen, and they go Phil Jackson. Back in there because they won like a championship. But what it is BJ, man, I'm just walking around. You know, my daughter looking like, Daddy, where you going? Daddy just want to walk around, just walk with mommy for a second. Daddy want to see this. And, you know, and then after that, I got to go in and, you know, make sure we got Pampers and wipes because we got to go in here and watch Elmo, you know,
BJ, I have a serious producer question for you. Did we really need a follow-up on Elmo right there, man?
Dude, it's amazing, it's amazing, and I understand the power.
I think my sports talk mode and went with the easy follow-up question.
No, I think my parents took my kids to Frozen on ice or something like that, and I think my son just cried the whole time and lost it, and they had to leave early. But dude, that stuff is powerful, man. I mean, that stuff. Vince, like you said, no. I'm not going to say anything. No, Ben, when Elmo came out, did everybody not lose their mind? It's like it's like a celebrity.
Yeah, they had some pre-acts out there, like, you know, they had like big, you know, like Count Dracula, Big Bird, or whomever. I can't remember the Bird and Ernie. Who cares? But what happened was it's like some pre-acts. All of a sudden, you know, the lights come down or whatever. It was like this. You heard this. It's like I heard him go, cue the music. You know how he talk. And he la 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 la.
Exactly.
I've ever heard.
That was the worst Elmo impression I think I've ever. But that's enough about Elmo.
I can't do Elmo.
Exactly 5 minutes too many on Elmo.
Hold on, can you do Elmo
today? But Christian made a great point, not about that, but we tear all of our good places down for the latest and greatest so we can get a 10-foot larger video board in there.
And get way more fans in there to see Elmo.
And call it. That's on you. You brought it back around to Elbow. Take 3. Can a case be made that Ronald Acuna is currently the best player in Major League Baseball?
Absolutely. And when you talk about kind of value in baseball, I still think that starting pitchers at the end of the day are the most valuable commodities in terms of kind of crunch time and especially in the playoffs. But what Ronald Acuna is doing is unparalleled. And I say that, I will acknowledge that I am not an expert on Mike Trout, and I don't watch him every day, and I certainly appreciate and respect his all-time greatness. But it's like Kevin said back at the open of the show, Ronald Acuna just had a series where he hit like 800. I think he's hitting almost 500 for the season. He's up in the 450s. And understand that with Ronald Acuna, that doesn't tell the tale. That's not everything. Like Ronald Acuna's ability at the plate, his proficiency is only a part of his game. He might hit 400. I'm not saying for the whole season, but even if he ends up hitting 315 or whatever, that's only a part of it. He has elite power. And my eyebrows were kind of raised when I saw that a couple of national writers suggested he might lead the majors in home runs and hit over 50, but he's got 4 already.
And again, DJ, just for perspective on that, he's 3rd in the National League in home runs, 2nd in doubles, 1st with extra base hits, 1st in hits, 1st in OPS, 1st in slugging, and 1st in average, at least through the first 2 weeks or whatever of the season.
Yeah, and just for a frame of reference, the total base stat is an interesting one in baseball. So if you hit a home run, you get 4. If you hit a single, you get 1. And Ronald Acuna has 33 total bases. Freddie Freeman's second on the Braves was 17. So Acuna has almost twice as many bases as the next most productive batter. And then again, those things aren't taking into account his defensive ability where he's stealing home runs, throwing guys out, stretching singles into doubles, scoring from first base. I mean, he is an elite player. Every single thing that he does is top of the line. Old producer Jim used to say he liked to kind of rank players based off of video game ranking. Like what overall, grade would you get? He's a 99. He's a 99 at every single thing. And Mike Trout might be as well. But Ronald Acuna is a 99, and he is as good as there is in baseball. It's inarguable.
Of course he is. I mean, BJ, I know what you always talking about with the pitching and whatever. I mean, look at what Ronald Acuna Jr. has done. I mean, I think he led the Braves in home runs as a rookie. Almost did the 40-40 his full year. I mean, 2020. I mean, you're gonna put that in like okay, like kind of like a mulligan season. You didn't have that many games, but he's already ranked what number 4 out of the top 100 players in base. There are only 3 players they consider better than him right now. And one of those being Mike Trout. And something Kevin said, you actually get to see him play. No one's waiting up till 10:30 to see Mike Trout. I'm sorry. And the thing about Ronald Acuna is he can flat out do it all. Personality, check. I mean, I'm gonna have to ask Kevin, have you ever seen a leadoff hitter like him? When it's all said and done, he's gonna be the greatest. If he ain't pushing for that right now, check. On a big time team, that matters. Check. In a big market, check. Makes you watch, even if you're not a fan of baseball. Check. I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. will make you watch. So I just think that when you look at what being potentially a face of the league is, I think he has that. Yes, the pitchers don't always get more ink, but I get it. But I just think that being able to change the game defensively, offensively, he does it all. And we talked about he said, Ozzie said, look, I think he can get 50-50. And obviously Ronald Acuna smiled. But would you rule that out, Kevin, if he really went after something like that?
I mean, that would be amazing if that actually took place. 40-40, I think, is certainly doable for him. And I think that would be an amazing achievement. You're talking about something that if he does it, he'd be the sixth guy ever to do something like that in Major League Baseball. Truly unbelievable. But I think what you said is even more impressive about it is he's kind of changed the way that teams kind of look at players like that, because I think when he was coming up, he would say, 3-hitter, 4-hitter, no question. He's got power, speed, he can play defense, what have you. Braves put him at leadoff, and he's really flourished there. And I think the only other team I ever saw try something like that was, I want to say the Phillies tried it with Bryce Harper once or twice, where they said, hey, can we bat him leadoff, maybe second, just to get him more at-bats and more opportunities to come to the plate. And I think teams have seen traditionally your leadoff guy is a speed guy who just figure out a way to get on, whether it's a bunt, a single, what have you, and we'll go from there with guys behind you. Whereas Acuna is a guy that steps to the plate to start the game, and it is pitch one of the night. You are worried about him hitting it out of the park and starting an offensive rally. I mean, case in point, last night, he beats out a ground ball to shortstop, and the next batter goes yard, boom, 2-0. I mean, and that is one of those things that it's hard to find a table setter that can do some of the things, but a guy that can beat out a ground ball, hit it over the fence. He's a hard guy to pitch to right out of the jump. And to me, I'll be interested to see, and again, I'm not saying that every franchise is going to get a Ronald Acuna type, but can they get a guy that does some similar things? This would be akin to the Nationals putting Juan Soto first and him really thriving. Now, the Nationals have
who historically are considered like the great leadoff hitters in baseball history?
I mean, not guys like that. I mean, Ichiro would be a guy that comes to mind. I'm trying to think. Go back and remember who hit leadoff. Was Pete Rose a leadoff hitter? Ricky Henderson a leadoff hitter? But again, Ricky Henderson's your all-time stolen base leader. Not necessarily a guy that's going to pop home runs all over the place. So I think those kind of guys would be your leadoff guy. This is a guy that can come out and slap a home run, get a bunt, beat out a ground ball, hit a double. He can make you pay in so many ways that I think it makes him different from those guys in that, quote, traditional leadoff spot, which is why I think if teams get guys of his kind of makeup, not him, you might see some different guys start batting leadoff for teams right around the not too distant future where, I mean, sports Ben knows this is a copycat league. If it works for one team, give me somebody similar, and we'll see if we can make it work for us. Christian, go.
Oh, I was gonna say, BJ, just for reference, most people consider Matt Carpenter with the Cardinals to be the best leadoff hitter outside of Acuna, and he's got like a career 397 on base percentage, which is unbelievable from a leadoff guy. But that's the difference right there. Is you have Ronald Acuna leading off, and the next best guy might be Matt Carpenter.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's take three. We do it each and every day. This time we'll come back. Rich Styles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, will join us. We're talking Augusta and the Masters next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're with us on this Monday. We have a new green jacket winner. Hideki Matsuyama wins the Masters, the 85th Masters at -10. First Japanese player to win a men's championship, a men's major, and he does that at the Masters over the weekend. Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, joins us here on 3 and Out. Rich, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
And we appreciate you coming on. Matsuyama, a guy who has, again, been around the game a little bit, hangs around leaderboards, but not necessarily had a chance to finish one out at Augusta, and he does so in fine fashion there on Sunday. What can you tell us about his win and just how he was able to hang around and win a championship when others fell by the wayside behind him?
Well, the biggest reason he was able to win was because nobody was really pushing him from the back. I mean, I know it kind of became close at the end, but that's only because he bogeyed 3 of the last 4 holes. Could have been nerves. Who knows? He had a lot riding on it, wanting to be the first Japanese golfer, as you said, to win a men's major. Adam Scott had a great comment. Hideki is like Tiger Woods to the rest of the world. And right now in his country, he is an hero, and it's just incredible what he did. He is the first Masters champ to shoot over par in the final round since 2008.
Rich, a third round 65. I mean, wow. How impressive was that as he pursued the championship?
Well, I think that's really what won him the championship. It put him so far out ahead. And I think a lot of the guys behind him said, man, I don't know if I can shoot 65 on this golf course, especially on a final Sunday. And that gave him a huge lead, even though it kind of dwindled quite a bit on Sunday. But after, Sunday and everybody started out some strong, some weak, I just think Hideki just kept his calm, kept his composure, stayed and played within himself. And that's the most important thing when you come down to a Sunday, is trying to play within the talents and the patience and your game that you can. And he did that, even though he bogeyed 3 of the last 4 holes, he still won the Masters.
And Rich, I mean, obviously not to be upstaged by his caddy, but have you ever seen that level of respect, at the end when you obviously bow to the course? Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, that was incredible. I mean, that was really kind of neat. Some of the customs that they have, I think, are truly showing a lot of respect, and that's exactly what he did when he put the flag back in and then did the bow. I just thought that was really, really cool and showed an incredible amount of class and respect.
Absolutely. Rich Stiles joining us here on 3 and Out, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. What can you tell us about Will Zalatoris? Second, his first ever Masters. I know he got a lot of run there on social media for the way he was playing. What can you tell us about this young kid? And is this a young guy that we might see later down the road at the top of some leaderboards?
We're definitely going to see more of him down the road. I mean, he is now playing on an exemption for the rest of the year based on how he's played in 2 of the majors. I think one of the impressive things about this 24-year-old, and they call him a wizard, from Wake Forest, is that he was not overwhelmed and he was not intimidated by anybody or by the golf course. I mean, he played that golf course like a veteran. I was impressed at the way he played, at the shots that he made, at the putts that he made, and the way that he came back and kept his composure. He's cocky, but he's got the game to back it up. And I just think we're going to see a lot more of this guy in the near future.
Well, Rich, I want to follow up on that. You mentioned cocky. We talked about Bryson DeChambeau going into the Masters. He finished 1 round under par, the rest not so much. Is the Bryson beating the course talk slowly dwindling here? Is his approach wrong?
Well, understand that Bryson thinks he can overpower any golf course, and he made the comment, declared that Augusta National Golf Club was a par 67, and I think he only shot 67 one day. He tied for 46th. He is yet to be in a Masters top 20. I think that Bryson needs to understand that some golf courses cannot be overpowered, and Augusta National is certainly one of those. And I think, he just reality set in. He was using a new driver, a 4.5 degree driver that he put lead tape on the sole, and it didn't help. I mean, his driving was erratic. His putting was, his whole weekend was erratic. And I mean, he had one good day. And I just think Augusta is just not a golf course that you're going to overpower. You're going to have to go after it when you can and not when you shouldn't.
Rich, what'd you see out of Jordan Spieth over the weekend?
I think Jordan, might have got a little tight, might have got a little nervous trying to come back, especially on Saturday, more so on Sunday. I think he was really trying and probably in his mind thought that he could come back and get into double figures. But he bogeyed the first hole. He had a good drive. He just hit his second shot a little bit too long and ended up 3-putting on the first green. So I think Jordan is still in a great place considering all that he's done over the last 6 months. He's still in a good place. He's still at a top 10 at the Masters. So, I mean, you still got to think the guy's going to win at least one more time, maybe two this year.
And Richard, how do you feel about Brian Harman over the weekend?
Brian did not have a good Sunday. He actually did not have a great Saturday. I mean, he really did well on the first day and kind of held his own on Friday, but ended up just several shots out. He ended up 2 under after being 4 under for the tournament. Still a good showing. Still a top 20. But I just think the Augusta National just has some spots here and there that just can really be a lot of trouble. And especially on the greens, if you're trying really, really hard to make a par, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And I just think he found that it was just a little tougher on the weekend after it had dried out and after that rain delay that we had.
Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Rich, quickly before we move ahead, you got the RBC this week, the week after the Masters there on Hilton Head. What do you expect to see from the guys who take the short trip from Augusta, playing a really hard course to slide down to play RBC this week?
Well, RBC is not an easy golf course. I mean, it's one of those where your drive is all important. It really sets you up for what happens. The greens are very small, narrow fairways. You got to know when to go for it, when to not. But you've got a lot of former champs that are there. I mean, you got Webb Simpson, you got Davis Love, you got Jim Furyk, you got Dustin Johnson. I mean, all these guys are going to be there. It's a great field. It always is after the Masters. So I think you're going to see some great golf again, and I think you'll probably have somebody to win this week that has not won before.
Yeah, great place to win, as you said, there on Hilton Head. Now, Rich, we had to get to it. We had a Masters kind of draft last week. We each got to pick 3 golfers and see how it ended up. Ben's none of his made the cut. Sorry, Ben. I had to tell you, BJ, you were not here when we did the draft. I came in third. You and Christian actually tied on a score. Now,
really?
Yes. Now you had a guy who finished lower. No,
doesn't matter.
No. Christian is now begging for a 1-hole live action playoff between you and him on golf course. I guess the challenge being thrown down.
Hey, old man, name the time and place, and I'm there. All right.
Just because you're now a CrossFit instructor does not still need more than 1 hole, bud.
Rich, as many holes as you want to go, whatever hole you want to go to, you let me know. You name the course, you name the time. I would prefer that it's not like the 5:45 a.m. first tee. I would appreciate that. But anything else, wherever you want to go, however many holes you want to play, I'll walk the course and you can ride in a cart. Whatever you want to do, name the time, place, number of holes. We're settling this because we're tied and I cannot accept that.
All right, Mr. CrossFit, I'll run the course and I'll only take 15 clubs.
Rich, I'll let you set the parameters. You can use your shiny No Bull shoes. You can use the red Volvic balls. You can do whatever you want to. You can have a golf cart with spinners. I don't care because you're going down. All right, down. Like Bryson DeChambeau, down.
All right. You're not going to have to use that putter that you use. You're not going to have to use that little red ball. So you're going to have to come. You're going to have to bring it. You know what? I'll give you 5 shots.
Whoa! Oh! There, that's what I'm talking about.
I don't need your I don't need your charity, Rich. We're tied. We're tied, Rich. I don't need your charity.
I think Rich is pretty confident in what's about to happen.
No, he doesn't want to be embarrassed because he's the golf show host.
I'm ready.
Hey, let's get this set up, Rich. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
All right, tell him hello with Putt Putt.
All right. Rich Stiles says to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Boy, he was like ready to. Hey, 5 shots. You are awfully confident that. I mean, Rich plays a lot of golf. Okay. I'll take me out of it because I'm here. You two, Rich v. Christian, BJ and Ben. Who would you take right now, sight unseen?
Rich. Not due to the fact. Christian is the homie. Christian is my golf swing coach. I'm going with the new CrossFit coach and Christian, because Christian, listen, we talk a lot of trash. And he giving away strokes and all this. Christian, take the strokes, Christian. Jesus.
Listen, Rich, if you're still listening, I understand that you were around when Arnold Palmer hit his first ever golf shot and all that. That's fine. It's the new age, Rich, and I'm coming for you.
Is this going to be on radio, Kevin? Are you going to play-by-play this?
I mean, I can.
He should. I think after you ask Cody who he would rather caddy for, it's Rich.
I think it's one of those things where if we go out and we film it and all that, and Christian loses, the tape might mysteriously get deleted.
No, I'll post
in
it.
transit.
I'll post it because my outfit's going to look good.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We're streaming live ESPNCoastal.com. Good to have you 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you were with us. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Also live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. A lot more to get to here on the show with a lot of SEC spring games coming up this weekend. They'll get spring wrapped up. We'll take a look at those. But BJ, Ben, Paul Feinbaum sounding off on Jock's Roundtable in Birmingham about the SEC and rivalry games, saying he thinks maybe Georgia, Florida is better than Bama and Auburn from the standpoint of it's vicious, get after it. Florida fans are going to let Georgia fans know, hey, you hadn't won championship in 40 years. Georgia fans are going to say, hey, we finally started to send some back the other way, where he says Bama, Auburn, not a rivalry, not the driving rivalry. He didn't say it wasn't a rivalry, not the driving rivalry of the conference, because everyone looks at it as like, well, it's Nick Saban and they're going to win it most of the time over Auburn at this point. Do you agree with that assessment?
No, not exactly, because I understand that he's talking about how many times one team wins over the other team. I think every rivalry has ebbs and flows in it. Some teams never really win in the rivalry. I think the rivalry is built for more than just that. I mean, Auburn, when I think about rivalry, yes, I do agree when you talk about the fact that the Florida-Georgia or Georgia-Florida rivalry to you Georgia fans. But I think about Alabama-Auburn real similar to like Mississippi State-Ole Miss. I mean, you're talking about what? I think Mississippi State is in southern Mississippi. I mean, Ole Miss and like northern. And you talk about the fact they shut down the state. They do not like each other, do not have a pro team there. Rivalries are bigger than just who wins more in the series. Certain teams, like I said, never win it. But for me, Paul Feinbaum obviously got his name by, doing radio, talking about Alabama all the time. Alabama this, Alabama that. Alabama just recently got back to his level of dominance. I mean, BJ, I think something you said before the show, I think Tommy Tuberville had a winning record against Alabama when he was the head coach at Auburn. But I think it's bigger than just who wins it more. I do agree that I do like the fact that he's mentioned the Florida-Georgia rivalry, but it's bigger than just how vicious it is. I mean, Florida, Georgia, they don't like each other. Yes. Ole Miss, Mississippi State can't stand each other. I just think that rivalries have a lot going on, just who's going to win it more. But like I say, man, Feinbaum, I ain't heard from him in a while, man. He's definitely trying to get some clickbait. It's definitely working. But I do think just because Nick Saban's going to win this thing more often than not don't mean that it's taking away the lust. The Iron Bowl is the truth.
I don't know if he was saying it's just not in his opinion, he said it's not the driving rivalry, which means it's not the one that's first and foremost. I don't know if I even agree with that, because even still, you feel like Auburn has a chance to ruin the season for Bama there at the end. I think Georgia, Florida's right there also, BJ, but I think that's more maybe where he's coming from, not to diminish that the game doesn't mean as much, but as far as the conference is concerned, it's not that driving Iron Bowl is going to decide it all kind of situation.
Well, I appreciate what he's saying, and I think we all have a special appreciation for Florida, Georgia, Florida, and the history of it, the viciousness, the hatred, the anger. I mean, Ben, you obviously have one of the great plays in the history of the series. But to me, when I think about a rivalry, and again, I understand the point, but I don't necessarily think about who's winning or the ebb and flow of the rivalry. I mean, if you were to ask a lot of people around the country, right? Average college football fan, what's your biggest rivalry? A lot of folks would say Ohio State, Michigan. Well, Ohio State has won 15 out of 16. They've won 15 out of 16. So if you're going off of who wins, who loses, I don't know that would be up there, but I think it all is, right? Because it's a rivalry with history, with tradition, with complete disdain that never ends. And I think Alabama-Auburn is right there. And clearly, Alabama's a better program than Auburn is right now. But let's not forget, Auburn won a national title in 2010 and was a play away from winning a national title in 2013. So it's not like Alabama is necessarily just light years ahead of Auburn, and Auburn's nowhere on the national stage. I know they've had some down years, but again, they've been in recent SEC championship games. They have a recent national title, and they played for another one that they almost won in 2013. So to me, Alabama-Auburn is the top rivalry in college football. I think it's the history. I think it's the disdain. I think it's the, just the way it's always been. It's the Iron Bowl. And, I think about great rivalries that I love. I grew up on Georgia, Florida, even long before I knew you, just growing up on the coast. And when I was in grade school, and I don't know the exact numbers, Christian might, although he might be trying to forget them, Florida had won like 13 out of 14 or something like that, right? And it didn't dampen any of the enthusiasm, any of the any of the relevancy, any of the, disdain or the passion. Army Navy is probably the best rivalry in all of sports. There was a stretch there where Navy had won 12 out of 13 or something like that. I mean, it happens in rivalries. But I know with Florida State and Florida, it's been kind of a streaky rivalry, right? The Gators will have 6 or 7 in a row. Florida State will have 6 or 7 in a row. We were talking about this with Georgia Tech a couple of weeks ago. I think a rivalry is about history and about kind of a lack of appreciation for each other. And I still think Alabama-Auburn's the top for me.
It's up there. I mean, back when I was in college, I mean, they did a poll of what's the top rivalry, and we was all in everybody's bias with the Georgia, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Army, Navy, Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, it was the Iron Bowl. I mean, it's that prestige of it, and a lot of times, when I was with the Tigers, I had a friend that played at Auburn, had another that played at Alabama. They used to go back and forth. This is way before Alabama got to its dynasty years, like it's doing now. But I just think that just love to hate each other, that genuine dislike. I like, that's what make a rivalry to me. Because no matter what, you go to that part that they can't stand. I don't care, man. We beat you. I don't care what y'all did. Y'all still stink. Y'all won the worst team. It's like to me, that's what makes.
I heard you say if Georgia wins a national championship, not only are you quitting and leaving us, but you're moving to another part of the country.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm not putting in 2 weeks. I saw the game. Did you see the game? Well, I'm gone. I mean, ain't no welcome to 2 for the money. I mean, Ben is gone. We gonna appreciate the No, but BJ, this is a rivalry. So when I first got to college, I had a friend named Reed Fleming. Came in with me. His brother played at Georgia. When I asked Reed, hey man, so your brother, I don't talk about him. He said he's a disappointment to the family. What? Let the family down. I was like, so, and I'm like, really? They had him on kickoff so his brother could block it. They was going back and forth. That's what a rivalry is. I mean, if God forbid, if I had like a really, really good friend that rooted for Florida State, people make mistakes, man. Like, who am I to judge somebody on the mistakes that they make? But no, a genuine dislike for your rival is always a good thing. I don't want.
Yeah, but I will say this, and I appreciate what Paul Feinbaum was saying. Florida Georgia is unique now. I mean, because you talk about the bragging rights with who has better high school football. You think about the division title on the line every year. I mean, it's up there. It's undoubtedly up there.
No. I will say this. When you in the state of Georgia, you in Bulldog country, make no mistake about it, and the Georgia fans get to saying all kind of crazy stuff. They get to talking about their traditions and their dynasties. I'm like, are you talking about baseball? Like, what are you talking about? And I will say this. Rivalry is about living in reality. And sometimes your rival don't live in reality. See, I know what Paul Fine was. He was trying to get me to talk about these Georgia fans. Man, y'all need to listen. There are no more red overalls left. Okay, you don't know if it's a dog barking or them barking. Don't matter. They're gonna meet at the neighborhood, barbecue pit, so they can go out there and talk about old dog stories and how good Herschel Walker was. I'm just saying, I just do appreciate that Florida Georgia rivalry, but that Iron Bowl, BJ, that Egg Bowl, though, people, if you don't know,
talk about that though, because you had some buddies that played in that. Now, in terms of disdain, the Egg Bowl is up there.
When I was with the Raiders, I had 2 teammates. One played for Mississippi State, the other played for Ole Miss, right? So the one for Ole Miss was like, yeah, I went to Ole Miss. He said, and then the guy from Mississippi State go, why you go to Ole Miss? He said, boy, you only went to Mississippi State because you didn't get recruited by Ole Miss. They were finna lock up. He said, think about this. He goes, we got guys like, I don't know, Archie Manning, Eli Manning. Who y'all got at Mississippi State? What, Fred Smoot? He said, with a name like Smoot, he should have went to Mississippi. I mean, it was just, and that's what you like though. And I said, what is Northern Mississippi more prestigious than Southern Mississippi? He goes, you go to Southern Mississippi, if you couldn't get a plane ride, you got to get on a train. That's how they was talking to each other. It was rough in there. It got a little rough in there.
BJ, let me ask you this, because I know everybody's saying Iron Bowl in this one. In terms of national significance just in 2021, I think Florida Georgia is clearly the biggest one.
Yeah, but I can't rank or define rivalries based on national significance in 1 year. I mean, if you're going off of national significance in 2021 alone,
I was trying to get around to like a little bit of the fact that Auburn fans maybe have accepted that Nick Saban's their dad / they're rebuilding this year, and Georgia and Florida are going to be competing to go to the SEC championship.
Well, sure. But again, if you're going off of rivalries in 2021, I mean, Clemson-Georgia's a rivalry. I mean, might Clemson-Georgia be the preeminent kind of national rivalry in 2021? I understand the point. I'm not inherently completely disagreeing.
No. That is significant what Chris just said. So you just enrolled in Auburn. You know, you're a part of the 2021 recruiting class. Hey, man, what's your name, man? What's your name, Jonathan? Jonathan Smith. What's your dad name? Nick. Nick what?
No, but I mean, to be fair to Auburn fans, it's pretty much everybody in college football's dad.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, she ain't my daddy.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad to have you along here on the show. Reminder quickly coming up, second anniversary barbecue King of the Hog competition going on at Savannah Harley-Davidson on the 24th of this month, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you'd like to take part, register now. Go to kingofthehog.com, kingofthehog.com. Great barbecue competition. Great chance for you to vote on some of the best barbecue in the area. Again, coming up on April the 24th at Savannah Harley-Davidson from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Go to King of the Hog right now, kingofthehog.com to register and get yourself a chance to participate in that day. Should be a lot of fun. I know we judged the time before, BJ and Ben, and had a lot of fun eating a lot of different barbecues. And again, usually you tell me, hey, we need you to eat and then eat some more and tell us what you think. I'm good for that. I can do that.
We all talk a lot for a living. When that barbecue comes around, we're all looking around. Nobody's saying a word.
No, it was funny. So when they first was bringing them out, they was going like to the end of the table. Me and Kev was like, they coming. Oh, they start from that end and come back then. Oh, okay. Because at first I thought y'all hadn't ran out. But yes, I mean, you talk about Kevin. I guess our company. You know what I'm saying? Troop and Thomas, we save lives more than just on October 31st. We've expanded our, what we do for the public.
And there should be a lot of great teams there. I don't think Lincoln Riley is in, so it should be high quality stuff on the 24th of April. KingofTheHog.com. Go.
Do you make good barbecue, Kevin? Because you're throwing out jabs, man. Do you make good barbecue?
I don't have a smoker, so I don't make, but I would enjoy the opportunity to try. A lot of my friends do, so I have seen a lot of their tricks and kind of secrets of the trade that they do different things. So I've seen the process happen from start to finish. I've helped in doing some barbecue, but I don't have a smoker of my own, nor do I have the personal schedule to allow me to stand around a smoker for 8, 9, 10 hours. Most of the time I've got too many things going on with kids. As you know, sometimes like, hey, wife of mine, I really would like to make some smoked brisket or Boston butter, what have you. I'm going to need to be here for the next 10 to 12 hours with nowhere else to be. That doesn't happen too often, at least not right now in my life. Listen, dry than Lincoln. I will go on. I'm
about to say, I mean, Kevin, you don't got to be bashful. Lincoln, what the hell was that?
Add a little more water or something. Anything. It's 3 and Out. We'll come back. Final hour. All across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live. ESPNCoastal.com. Great to be here. Hour 3 on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Also live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can find us there. Glad you are with us. Braves and Marlins coming up later tonight as Braves start a 4-game homestand. Coming out of the weekend, where, again, played really well at home. Obviously, we know all about the replay or lack of its use there at the end of that game. But BJ, in your opinion, does that take away from where this Braves team is? Because it seemed to, obviously, fans got upset, and it seemingly has just taken over all the talking points from a series in which the Braves, after getting swept by the Phillies, really came home and played well and got within a game or two of first place heading into this week here.
Very frustrating, but doesn't take away from the great play. I mean, you went on a 4-game winning streak. You got some really clutch pitching performances. We'll see Enoa again tonight. I'm really excited to see what more he has. Offensively, you're starting to bounce back. And you knew that would happen, right, Ben? I mean, Freddie Freeman picking it up, Ozzie settling down a little bit. Ronald Acuna's been magical to watch. I mean, so much fun to watch. Can't wait to see more of him. I mean, that's the power of Ronald Acuna. We're in mid-April. The season just started. You know, baseball normally is kind of a long haul kind of sport. I mean, I'm anxious. I'm ready to see more of Ronald Acuna. I think you've gotten some good pitching performances. I think you started to kind of minimize some of the things that cost you early. I mean, I'll ask both you guys this. My only real concern, because I'm not as worried about some of the batting averages, I think that comes around. Will Smith. Ben, I don't know if it's a fair comp. I was thinking closers are kind of like kickers in the NFL, where if you miss, 4 or 5 kicks in a couple of weeks, you might be done because you have a very specific job. It's pressure packed. You see kickers who have been in the league 7-8 years. They have a bad month. They're gone. Will Smith, you have a very specific job. You're a closer. You got to get outs in the 9th inning. Can't walk people. Can't have base runners on. Can't give up runs. And that's not to say never, but when every time you go out there, it's runners on, that's a spot where you really can't have that. And you're not going to be perfect. You're going to give up runs. But when you have more iffy outings than good outings, even though we're early in the season, I wonder if it's kind of like being a kicker in the NFL where you just don't have that margin for error.
Well, you don't. I mean, that's why you are who you are. I mean, you got one of the most prestigious positions in baseball, in sports. I mean, Will Smith, you can't live off who you used to be. People are always going to go back to what he did to get in this position. Well, what is he doing now? What has he done lately? And there is no sympathy in pro sports. Like, you are the best in the world. When you look at this Braves team, BJ, they don't have a lot of holes. Like, it started off, a loser streak. People going crazy, right? They went from, 0-4 to 2-4 really, really quick. You saw what they did against the Phillies. Will Smith got to be feeling the pressure now, and that's a good thing. Hitters going slumps, shooters going slumps. If you're a closer, he's in a slump right now. Now, true indeed, people not going to talk about what he's doing as much, BJ, because the overall of what the team is doing. But, I mean, when I call for the closer, I want everybody to be like, it's okay, let's go get him, Will. Not because they have to say it, because they know he got it in him. Right now, he's not getting it done. Kevin, I'm going to go to you when you look at the fact that what do you do? It is early. I know it's a lot of games. It's a lot. I'm pretty sure they're going to probably go, put him in a different spot, because right now it ain't working where they got him at. But I just go back to, this is why you are paid the big bucks. This is why you have the position that you have. And at what point, Kevin, just like I said with Ozzie, hitting in the 2-hole, at what point do a closer, you have to just go to him and say, look, man, it ain't working. We got to put you in another spot to hopefully get you back to what we paying you to do.
Well, I think for Will Smith, I'm getting close to that point. The good news is for Will Smith, it's Miami, right? Will Smith, welcome to Miami. Okay, we're going to get it turned around against the Marlins, hopefully. But yeah,
well done, sir.
Kevin, I'm on my game today.
That's right.
He talk about Lincoln Riley with the dry brisket. His food, his freaking meat look dehydrated. He needs some water. It's just crazy. It's some crazy stuff.
Just tell Will it's the summertime, and go out there and get it done against Miami. But no, I think, as you said, the 9th inning is one of those roles where, you like to have. There's nothing better than a closer that walks out the gate, and you just know the game's over. But when you lose that, man, it's tough. Like you open up the gate like, oh, this ought to be interesting. I kind of akin it to a lot of Braves fans when Luke Jackson was closing, and I like Luke Jackson. I think he gets a bad rap from Braves fans at times, but he saved 18 games. But you just like, are we getting good Luke Jackson today, or are we getting hold on for everything we got, Luke Jackson. And that's not necessarily the best vibe to have with your closer. Like when Craig Kimbrell was a closer, unleash the Kimbrell. You know, the flame started, the door open. You're like, game's over. We can go home now. I don't think you get that with Will Smith just yet. And I think even Mark Melancon, you started to develop that a little bit where Melancon last year came in. You're like, okay, it's pretty much over and done. Will Smith, I mean, there's nothing you would like more for him to come in and just pitch a clean inning in the ninth. And I think if it continues to go where he just can't get guys out consistently and throw strikes, you say, look, man, maybe the seventh inning is your spot for now. Or maybe we just give you a couple of days off and let somebody else do it. And much like you do a hitter and say, just take your mind off of it, regroup, and let's go out there and get them another time. But, yeah, I mean, if you're on a great team and a team that has success, you can't have a guy that it's nervous time when it comes in the ninth inning. I mean, you think about some of the great teams we've seen in baseball, even the Dodgers last year. I mean, there was no doubt. You go to the bullpen to close it out in the ninth inning, probably wasn't going to happen for you. Mariano Rivera, greatest one to ever do it. The Yankees knew, even when he blew it, Yankees knew you call 42 out of the bullpen, 95% of the time it's over. And you don't have that feeling with Will Smith right now, and you got to figure out a way to get that out of him, and he has just not had tremendous outings.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, because you know I'm a stats guy. I'm looking at the stats. His ERA is 6.75. That's the second highest on the whole team. But when you pitch small amounts of innings, one run does a lot of damage to your ERA. So in your mind, is it just as simple as pause the numbers for right now? Let's start from zero. Are you getting guys out and getting saves? Can you use the ERA as a frame of reference?
Yeah, the numbers I don't care about right now because, like you said, if you come out and have a 1-2-3 inning, that ERA can come almost in half because he just hasn't pitched all that much. But, yeah, to me, every time out there, I'm not worried about what he has done. I'm worried about what he is doing. And there's two things that will get you pulled out of a spot as a relief pitcher or a closer. One, walking dudes and not throwing strikes. I mean, again, that's statistically proven to lead you into a woeful path and nothing but trouble. You walk the leadoff guy in the ninth inning. It's one of those things that all the sabermetrics guys are like, yeah, you do that and bad things happen. The first guy gets on base, but just nothing good comes to that. I think if you're Will Smith, you look at some of his outings, man, and it's like not only he's getting behind, he can't throw strikes consistently, and none of that is what you want out of your closer. You want a guy that's coming there from the jump. Boom, strike. You're already down 0-1 in the count. Not getting that with him right now, and I think you have. If I'm Brian Snitker, you look at this team, it's deep. The pitching is deep. Like, Will, you're not getting it done. You may make a lot of money, but I got 3 or 4 other guys that can do it. I think that was kind of the beauty of the 2019 Braves and even the 2020 Braves. If Mark Melancon doesn't work out, you had 3 other guys with closing experience you could put out there. And I think if I'm Brian Snitker, it's like, I'm not willing to sit here night after night in the ninth inning and have adventure time to see if we can get it done. I'm just not willing to do that.
Yeah, and I think what happens is, you're going to have every team is made up the same way in pro sports. You're going to have a superstar. You're going to have a guy that's right there like behind him, and you're going to have a bunch of role players. The best teams, guys embrace their role. And the thing about the pros is you don't have closed-door conversations. You talk to each other in front of each other, in front of the whole team. So Snick got to tell Will, you ain't getting it done, man. And that's something that I had to learn about pro sports is it's not being mean, it's being direct. Like we don't got time to wait. We don't have time to wait on you to get it right. And I think that what happens is, BJ, in a situation like Will Smith, everybody thinks they want to play for a team that matters until you do and you realize how much more pressure. No one cares if your team stinks. Walk around town, don't no one know you. They don't even want to wear their jerseys. Now, people going Will, because this team went from 0-4 to they already got to potentially be. They could be leading the division by the end of the weekend. That's how good this team is. So if I'm Will Smith, it's all between the ears. Please listen. Please don't start that Mike Soroka. That Mike Fo-Navy stuff. You don't got time. And I know that being a pitcher is unlike anything else. It's just you, the batter, and the freaking, and the freaking catcher. But I just think that he's gonna have to get it together in a hurry. Cause think about this, BJ. You the closer. You used to being run out in the 9th. Now they saying, hey man, we're gonna run you out in the 7th. What if you stink in the 7th? They have nowhere else to put you. So you go from 9 to 7 to watching. And right, wrong, and different, man, they pay you to get it done. That's why the coaches always tell us, don't tell me about your feelings, man. Show me, like Kevin said, show me your production. Did you cash your check this week? Go
True.
out there and get it done, flat out. I mean, it's not.
So,
not.
Kev, if you make a move, I mean, and who knows? And you're not saying it would be forever or temporary. What does that mean? How long is that? Would you look at Chris Martin, Sean Newcomb, or a Mentor?
I mean, I think to me, AJ Minter is a guy that I would look at. Why? Because he comes in, he throws hard, he's got heat, kind of the typical closer stuff that you would look for, where he's got breaking pitch. He can throw a hard fastball and potentially come out there and get guys off balance and get you out of the inning. He has closed some games before, so I think that's a feather in his cap there. But again, I think when it comes to the ninth inning, especially when you're counting on winning a division, you need a guy that you feel good about. 90% of the time you come out there, we're going to get out of this thing and get a dub. I don't think you can afford to, again, make it interesting, 4 or 5 nights a week in close ball games, because that's what good teams do, come in and shut things down when they have a lead. I think the one good thing about this Braves team that we saw is once they got home, that offense really opened up. I think maybe just, hey, you'd gone to spring training, you've been at spring training for a month, then you start immediately on the road and you're away from, home, family for another week. And then you get home and it's almost like for Freddie Freeman, switch went off, played much better. And you're seeing some of those guys kind of find their groove. I think offense will help some of that out as well. But if that offense posts a 7 or 8 run total for you, you can't come in there and mess around in the ninth inning and let that go. I mean, just because you can score 8 runs doesn't mean you need to give up 7. That's one of those things that I think you fall into. You look at the late 90s Braves teams, and you even heard people on the team say, like, hey, man, we had Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. We didn't have to score 4 or 5 runs a night. We could score 2, and that would be good enough. And you sometimes didn't see the best run support. Then you often see teams that can mash the baseball. It's like, man, our offense can go get 7, 8, 9 runs a night. And their ERA is like 6 because the pitchers are like, well, if I give up a couple runs, it's fine. The offense has got me. And sometimes you don't get the best pitching. I think if you're a Braves team, you got to kind of shut that down with your bullpen and say, look, if we're up 2 runs in the ninth inning, we can't make it interesting with a winning run on third every night because we're walking guys and not getting guys out. That's too much high stress, I think, to put your pitching staff through night in and night out. And certainly you could see it disheartening, albeit by a bad call. I mean, you scored 6 runs last night, and it wasn't quite enough. And maybe if you got 7, it would have been. So I think the offense sometimes will look at you and go, man, we gave you 6, 7 runs. Why couldn't that hold up? So, yeah, I need consistency out of Will Smith. And if it continues to be an adventure, you got to try somebody else until he can figure it out.
We'll see. I mean, obviously, I'm pulling for him. I mean, I just think that at the end of the day, it's hard to compare anything to a pitcher. That's why I always go to you, Kevin. But it just comes down to every single game. Every individual player in every position group is checking in, and some guys just checking in, but they ain't doing their job. You got to do your job because, like I said, this Brave team got big time postseason aspirations, and you don't want to just be on the playoff roster because of your price tag.
We've got more to come here on the program this final hour. We'll look more at the Braves, more at the replay situation from last night. It's got everybody up in arms. And when we come back, we're bringing it back for a day here, the No Huddle segment. I know we had a lot of fun with it. We'll do some rapid fire on spring games coming up this weekend in the SEC. We will get to that next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben here on 3 and Out. Glad you are with us. We will look at the replay from last night, which was obviously just awful. Nobody, except maybe Phillies fans, liked what happened in that last night. We will get to that coming up in just a little bit. But first, we bring back an oldie but a goodie segment here, the No Huddle, where we rapid hit topic. Today we look at the SEC. There's 7 teams with spring games this weekend. We'll rapid hit them here as we do a quick round of No Huddle here on 3 and Out.
Buckle up and hold on tight. It's the No Huddle on 3 and Out. 3, 2, 1.
All right, fellas, I'll give you a team. You give me the biggest storyline for each school heading into their spring game this weekend. Mississippi State.
I think it's playmakers. I think, you just need to continue to develop wide receivers, running back, tight end, guys that can help your offense in the passing game. You're going to throw it 35, 40, 45 plus times a game. Who are your playmakers out wide?
At the end of the day, if Mike Leach think that offense is going to run through the SEC and beat anybody, they better add something to that run game. Run the football, create balance.
Vanderbilt playing this weekend.
What's your offensive identity? Clark Lee coming in as a defensive expert, was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. I think you like quarterback Ken Seals, but what are you going to try to do? What do you want to do? What's your vision offensively?
Can you beat Tennessee? You got to find a way to beat the Vols in Knoxville. I think that's all you really got to go off this year. It is going to be a long year. Beat the Vols.
That's the one goal for the season.
That's their saving grace. At least we're not the worst team in the state.
All right, Alabama. Yes, even Alabama has questions heading into a spring game. What say you?
Bryce Young's going to be a superstar, but look at who you're replacing, Mac and Tua. Can the status quo be maintained? And do they get bored, Ben Troop?
Yeah, I'm about to say that complacency got to be that for me, BJ. When you look at the fact this team has really seen it all, done it all, this recruiting class will either win the national championship this year or next year. You're not allowed to get recruited at Alabama under Nick Saban and not winning that.
LSU.
Who's going to be the starting quarterback? You have 2 really good options. Miles Brennan, Max Johnson, who won in the swamp last year, Brad Johnson's son. Is it tricky if you have 2 really good options but not a clear front runner?
Got to get that defense up to speed, BJ. I know they get the DB coach from Minnesota. They got to get that defense back to playing some big-time championship football.
All right, Georgia in Athens this weekend. Biggest storyline for them as they head into the spring game.
How balanced do you want to be schematically? What's your run-pass kind of ratio going to be? What do you want it to be? Are you going to go with what's working, or do you have a plan you want to stick to? It's going to be fascinating to see.
Can you hide those DBs throughout the course of the year? Because the last time I checked, you still don't got no experience there. You're going to have to find a way to have a scheme to hide those guys, because you put them on the island, it's going to get rough.
All right, Auburn.
What's going on with Bo Nix? Had a really good freshman year, disappointing since then. Can he get back on track? His progression, Mike Bobo, Ben, can he get the most out of Bo Nix? I think that's going to be the big question for Auburn.
Do Auburn want to just have one of those seasons where you just throw away, or do they want to actually go out there and compete for that second spot in the SEC West?
And finally, Arkansas. They've got a spring game this weekend. Biggest question for the Hogs.
I like Arkansas, and I like KJ Jefferson, their quarterback. Really talented young man, but Felipe Franks did a great job. Is he ready to build on what Franks did in Fayetteville?
I think they want to try to go out there and create that balance. BJ, I know they want to throw it, but they got to run it some, because they got some great linebackers. Watch them linebackers from Arkansas next year.
Got it under. I almost forgot there was a timer on No Huddle. It's been so long. I forgot about the timer in there. We got under the whistle there. I totally forgot. I was just in my own world. I'm like, here we go. And then I hear the ticking start. I'm like, oh, we're about out of time. But quick look there. Aside from that, of those 7, which one are you most kind of intrigued to see what happens there during the spring game?
Maybe LSU, Ben, because, sometimes I think we hear about quarterback competitions, right? And I think some of it's kind of spoken into reality more than it actually is a competition. Like one guy has a clear edge or one guy's probably going to be the number 2. I don't think they know yet. And I think both options are really good. Brennan was exceptional before getting hurt. Max Johnson was tremendous. Again, not many quarterbacks ever win in the swamp, especially when Florida's playing for a playoff spot potentially. And the quarterback sets the tone for the team. And then, Ben, as you said, defensively, really bad a year ago. Just not getting it done. What's the level of competition? Because talent-wise, LSU's close to Alabama. Talent-wise, LSU's probably above Texas A&M. probably above Auburn. But can they be consistent? I think LSU is one of the most interesting teams in the country.
For me, it's always going to be Auburn. I mean, the curious case of Bo Nix, BJ. I mean, obviously, set the world on fire his true freshman year. Kind of didn't have that, that had that sophomore slump. I mean, they're going to have Tank Bigsby. I mean, you talk about Coach Hart, you talk about Coach Bobo. They're doing all they can to help him. I mean, they're doing all they can to add a run game. He's not going to have those big time receivers he had. I just think that for Auburn to do what Auburn needs to do, it's going to come down to Bo Nix. I don't think it's going to be a quarterback competition. You bring in a offensive coordinator that want to run the ball with a head coach that wants to throw the football. If he can't get it done this year, I think this might be the last year we see Bo Nix. But it's going to rise and set on Bo Nix this year.
This is an interesting question, Kevin, a bit. I mean, who's the second best quarterback in the West after Corral? I mean, is it Bryce Young? Is it still Bo Nix? I think that's going to help determine the standings out West.
Ooh, I mean, I think it's going to be Bryce Young for the simple fact that they trust him to throw the football down the field. I don't know how much trust you bring in an offensive-minded coach that want to run the football with Tank Bigsby, the second best running back returner not named Kevin Harris. I think it is going to be Bryce Young because I don't know how long the leash going to be in Auburn this year.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of guys that are, I don't want to say totally unproven, but you mentioned LSU. Two different guys had played. Alabama's going to have a new quarterback. Obviously, a lot of talent, but new guy. Mississippi State, year two of a new scheme. Auburn, question marks about who's going to do it. I think that's a fair question in the West, but some of that is inexperience. Some of it is, breaking in new schemes. You just haven't had a lot of stability in terms of quarterbacking and or schemes at certain spots to really kind of know what you got right now outside of maybe a couple of spots.
Well, Ben, let me ask you this, because we've heard at least ideas. Could a 2-quarterback system work at Tennessee? Could it work at LSU? Is that viable in today's college football?
Yes, as long as both guys embrace it. Like, it's not the coaches making the decision, it's the players. Because the hardest thing to do is not listen to the people that you've always listened to. Like, when it comes to your family, your friends, Bryce, man, you better than him, man, that kid. Because the thing about it is if one guy was good enough, you wouldn't need two. Like, that's just bottom line. People going back to, it worked with Tim Tebow, with Chris Leak and those guys. Look, we all got roles. And I just think that the quarterback position is always, it's got to be this way, it's got to be that way. No, you got to do what works best for the team. Most guys, what they're doing in college don't even translate to the pro game, but this is what you're doing for right now. There is no way, BJ, with what Max Johnson did last year, you're going to just give it back to Miles. You can't do that because the rest of the team will be like, so what does it mean? We going to just go back to him, if Miles Brennan get hurt. I just think that it makes for healthy competition when there isn't a quarterback who's going to be your guy. Now, after the spring, now come the fall, ain't going to be that. You're trying to figure out what the fall is going to look like in the spring, but I just think that Miles Brennan was so good though before he got hurt. But Max Johnson won in the swamp with a season that didn't even have nothing to play for. It should make for a healthy spring game, but Coach O gonna have a decision to make come the fall.
I'm also really intrigued, Kevin, with Georgia and kind of what their vision is, right? Because I understand the talk of you got to throw it, you got to score 45 points, you got to, do this to win a national championship in today's college football. But let's not forget, a couple of years ago, they should have won a national title by basically running the heck out of the football and playing great defense. It's not like that was 20 years ago or 40 years ago. That was a couple of years ago. And I'm not saying you throw it 15 times a game. That's not what I'm saying. But for all the talk of do you basically have to become Alabama or Clemson and what they've done the last couple of years, I don't know that you have to. And I'm going to be interesting to see how all that plays out.
Well, I mean, certainly much like the NFL, college football wants to see offense, right? It's going to cater schemes, calls. I mean, targeting. I think targeting has changed the way people play defense. You saw that, Clemson, Ohio State, was it James Kalski gets ejected?
I think 2 years in a row he did.
He gets ejected on a hit that 5 years ago people wouldn't think anything about, right? You hit him hard and hit Justin Fields hard. Maybe your helmet shut, but you wouldn't think anything about it. Now he's out of the game, and you've changed the way that linebacker now is going to attack certain plays over the middle. So maybe that 5-yard gain has become a 7-yard gain because you're a little more tentative on the tackle. Well, you say, well, what's the big deal about 2 yards? Well, those 2 yards on play after play adds up with the way you go after it on defense. And I think the days of everybody wants to say, hey, we play fast and we play physical on defense. Well, do you? Do you play physical on defense? Because if you hit the quarterback too hard, you might be ejected, or if the helmet's – so I don't know that the physical style of defense plays as much as let's just keep everybody in front of us type defense, which is obviously also going to lead to more points.
Yeah, and the football has always been the same thing. I mean, you want to see high-powered offense. Like, I know people talking about, oh man, you playing the Big 10, they just score points or the Big 12. I mean, you can live with that result as long as you're on the winning end. Like, no one cares about 55 to 52 as long as you're on the side of 55. Don't nobody. I can't live through 12 to 10 games. I can't live through 14. That's because it's like I can't do it. And when I went through the Jim McElwain, the Will Muschamp, that stuff is rough. So while I will take a number 1 ranked defense, give me a top 25 ranked offense and a balanced D. Oh man, you can win every game you win because them great defenses mean it's gonna be a slugfest. The field goal kicker nervous because he got to go out there and show what he can do. I just think we are in the days, BJ, of the high powered offense and the complementary D. Don't got to be suffocating. It just can't be awful.
I get it. I just wonder where that balance is, and all that is all I'm asking.
I think a lot of folks are trying to find that balance as well. Speaking of finding balance, can we find any in MLB's replay system? We will get to that when we return. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you were with us on this Monday. Of course, the Braves last night come up a run short, I guess. We're still waiting for an official touching of home plate to get there. But a lot of folks talking about the replay system, and we saw Major League Baseball players on Twitter, social media last night saying, look, man, if we're going to go to replay, stop the game for 5 minutes, and what 99% of the people clearly see is not going to get called. Let's just not have it, right? What say you to just replay? Has replay created more problems than it's helped with trying to overturn calls? Because I saw something that said like Major League umps, just as an example, where their calls were right like 95% of the time on just in regular play. So obviously you take a ground ball to first, step on the bag, that's easy, but they were correct most of the time. Has replay created more problems in sports than it was designed to help in the first place?
Sometimes. Ben, here's what I don't understand. And we saw it in football with like the what's a catch, what's a touchdown, what's a fumble, all this stuff. There's going to be a judgment call here or there that's wrong because you're moving really, really fast. You're watching multiple things. You're a human being. To me, that's why replay exists, so that when something is really close and a game's on the line and a win, a loss is out there, you can go to irrefutable evidence and have multiple video reviews, angles, which you can rewind and fast forward and zoom in and get it right. What I don't understand, and again, I need it explained to me. Maybe there's an element of this I'm not understanding. How do you have a nationally televised game with multiple camera angles where something is clear and obvious? This is not up for debate. This is not controversial. This was not a bad call. This is a wrong call. Okay, a bad call is maybe you could see it one way or the other. He did not touch home plate. You have multiple angles that review that. You have clear, a room that is dedicated to that information and that ability. How does that happen? I don't have a problem with replay. I have a replay when it doesn't serve the purpose it was created for. That's what I need to know.
The reason why Snit said the right things in the post-game press conference, the reason why, players try to play within the confines of the rules is what you don't have to worry about in New York, and that's consequences. If there are any, because what they did yesterday, there should be a stiff consequence for that. New York got it wrong. Like, think about this. So you telling me we all looking at this in super slow motion. That ump is thinking about three things. He's thinking about watching the plate, watching the catcher, watching the run. It's a lot going on. I get it. I've never been in that situation. But he's trying to see all that. And he missed it. It happens. That ump said, all right, go New York. I'm sorry, man, I missed it. That ump was expecting him to say that runner was out. They said, no, we're gonna go with the call. I think what happens is, Kevin, is I've never been an ump, man, and I'm not saying these jobs are easy to do. That is not what I'm saying. But if there isn't any consequences to bad calls, what are we doing?
Well, I mean, to BJ's point, I think the call on the field, and I know people were talking about the guy behind the plate last night, and his role in it. But I mean, really, to me, if I'm an official, I make the call in the moment, and if it goes to replay, okay, that takes it out, because I think if I'm an official, I'll take replay. Hey, if I got it wrong, that's why it's there. You can correct me, and I can say, you know what?
This don't happen a lot, right, Kevin? This ain't happening a lot.
They're saying, yeah, but live action, I missed it. Replay, whatever. So I think, to me, it's off of the home plate guy. It's on, to me, New York and getting the call right, because you've seen it where not only, BJ, do you have multiple angles, but MLB, obviously, if you're going to invest in a thing like replay, they have the technology to watch multiple angles at the same time. So you can time sync these things to say, okay, at this point, here's the same point in the video from all the angles. Like, what are you looking at? And you and I talked about this before the show. I saw people on social media saying MLB should come out and make a statement and say they were wrong. And I was like, no, I would just prefer you make no statement at all and just internally fix it. Because here's why. We see this in college football all the time. You get the Sunday morning, my bad. Well, what's the Sunday morning, my bad? Oh yeah, we host you. Our fault.
Which is
yeah. No, you still.
That's how they start meetings. That's how the meetings start. Oh, fellas, before we get to business, Got a call from the MLB front office this morning. They did get it wrong. What the? It's not, no. Listen.
But that does nothing. That does nothing because you still lost the game, and it's nothing more than a my bad. And maybe that's enough for some people. But I would just say, look, I don't need the public apology saying we're wrong. I don't need Big 12 or ACC, SEC officiating crews getting fined and all of that because they missed a call. Don't give me the my bad. If it was a problem with the replay, fix it and move on. Don't tell me the my bad because my bad means nothing when the game's over because you can't go back and replay it. You're not going to give me a dub. You're not going to take my L away. Don't tell me it was, oh, my bad. That doesn't make me feel any better. Just look at what happened in the play and fix it, right? I mean, BJ, am I wrong in this?
Well, Ben, I mean, the whole point of this, obviously, Kevin, is to correct issues like, I don't know, Georgia Tech should have had an outright national championship and they had to share it. I mean, you're supposed to fix errors. And here's what I don't get. We hear it in football a lot. Call on the field stands, or we're going to go to the call on the field. If the umpire or the review committee is literally saying, we don't know what happened, we need more clarity, why is there any deference given to the call on the field? If you don't know that the call on the field is right and you need more clarity, there should not be any leaning towards the call on the field when it goes to review. You are literally saying, I don't know. Kevin, if you ask me to do a math problem and I go, I don't know, man, 14, I don't know, but I don't know if that's right. You're not going to go review it and put it in the calculator by saying, well, let's assume it's 14. No, you're going to not know, and you're going to do it and see what the answer is. So I don't understand the deference to the call on the field if you don't know that the call on the field is right.
What is New York for? Because the whole, okay, Kevin, you coach Little League Baseball. You know why you start smaller when you go with a sport? So I can get used to the things I cannot control. I get the game. There are going to be things that happen. And the thing about it is this, if there is replay, this is what really happens. Hey, man, y'all been looking at this tape a little bit too long. Well, look at it until you see what you're supposed to see, then make the call. Not this, all right. Like, I don't like the football when they just take the thing off, and I'm like, oh, they finna do something crazy. They ain't look at this long enough. Baseball is one of those things to where it comes down to the smallest things. Like, I find it crazy how, a third baseman, he'll get it, jump up, and when he throws it, as soon as Freddie Freak catch it, his foot hit the bag. Like, that stuff it's that small. You mean to tell me last night somebody gonna go, why did y'all lose last night? A bad call. I cannot live with that. I cannot live with the umps. Now, I'm not going to blame on the ump. The ump made a bad call. Go to New York. New York made a bad call. This ain't the ump. I think that it either works or this is insulting our intelligence. That's what last night was. It was everybody that's watching. Even the Philly was like, hey, man, he was out. Calling the field. I'm like, we going home? Like, that's it? I just think that either take it away or let it be what it's for.
And again, BJ, the intent of replay in all of sports is to get the call right. I appreciate that, but I would live with human error if as long as we're not stopping the game to sit there and if we're going to take the time out to look at it, and 99% of the people looking at it all see the same thing, then what are we doing? Now, if we just want to say no replays, I'm actually cool with that. It's like, hey, these guys are officiating a game, but I also expect, hey, this is a part of sports now. So if we're going to have it, let's have it and use it appropriately. And again, I don't know how anybody looking at that time synced up 3 different angles, 4 different angles can look at that and say, because to me, I would go the other way. So at best, and I don't think this happened, a fraction of a piece of cleat may have touched the plate. At best, I don't think it did, but that's what we're going to go on. We're inconclusive the other way, but we're going to say a piece of shoe may have drug across the plate. I don't think you can go that way either. I mean, to me, the out call should have been what was obvious to everybody there watching that replay.
Well, it's an interesting question, Ben. Do athletes want the correct call even if it takes 15, 20 minutes? Like, how do players feel about the replay?
It slows down the game, but we understand it. Like, the whole thing about it is the only way you're going to take you to a mind of a ref is when the game stops because of a play on the field. That's when you kind of go in the mind of a ref. But don't insult me. Like, do not insult the fact that, like, think about what Kevin just said, a fraction of a cleat. Now, the reason why I play football, because of things like fractions. That I wasn't gonna make it in regular life with stuff like that. So I just think that if we're watching the reason why they got them cameras super slow mo, like stop it. He's not touching it. He's not touching the plate. I will say this. This wouldn't be as big if what didn't happen, 3 or 4 days before it wouldn't happen. See, it's like you set the precedent for these umps in New York to where, dude, they can get it wrong. And that's what I think is crazy.
That's true. You've had two pretty epic failures for Major League Baseball in the past 3 or 4 days with regards to replay, and it directly influenced the outcome of the game. I think that's what people get more upset about is, okay, if you missed a call in the 3rd inning, that's one thing. You missed calls that directly resulted in one team winning and one team losing. I mean, I know the Braves still could come up twice. Yeah, but I know the Braves still came up to bat in the 9th inning, but I'm sorry, batting in the 9th inning with a tie game is vastly different than batting in the 9th inning when you're down one. It just is in your approach and the way you come to the game. So that's the part that drives me nuts there. But not just baseball, but what, in your estimation, are some of the biggest failures we've seen of video replay since it's been instituted?
Well, I mean, I think what we just saw is up there. I mean, sometimes you have reviews, right, where it's 70-30, it's 80-20 public reaction. This is 100-0. I mean, Kevin, weren't you saying guys like Mike Trout and people are saying, what baseball, what are you doing? I just don't understand how you get the obvious wrong. And football's dealt with it a ton. I mean, we've had to redefine what a catch is, what a fumble is, what a touchdown is, but I don't understand how you get the obvious wrong, Ben, with replay.
Just go back to the way they had a replacement refs, and then it was Green Bay at Seattle. And I'm sorry. If I go up for a catch and the guy in front of me catches it, and I'm on his back with my arms wrapped, I did not catch that ball. And they said Seattle won. I can live with human error. That's not what I'm saying. But if we have replay, that is to get it. Hey man, we made a mistake. Sorry, got it. We boom. That would be like somebody overcharging you, and they say, "Sorry, so we overcharge you." Like, let me just get this now, and they never get your money back.
That's not reviewable.
That's not gonna work. I need my money back. I just think the fans deserve better. New York, they gotta do a better job, or just take it away.
And we've got more to come here on 3 Now. Hopefully, it doesn't come down to a replay tonight with the Braves and the Marlins. We've got more to come. 3 Now, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Braves and Marlins coming up tonight, 4-game series with the Fish and BJ Ben. Always interesting when the Braves and Marlins tussle, especially with the Marlins history. I mean, Ronald Acuna just is coming off a series where he hit almost 700. The Marlins have a little bit of a history of pitching inside, shall we say. Could this get a little salty from the jump with the Braves and Marlins tonight?
I mean, does stuff like that linger in your mind, Kev? It does, Ben?
Of course it does, BJ. I mean, let's try to stop acting like we need a reason to dislike the opposing team. You don't need a reason. We can buddy it up. But what is that swole team 6 or whatever, Christian, you be talking about? Marcell Ozuna, he want problems. Let's see if they throw at him today. He got somebody. Listen, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he got a little Dominican toughness coming at him. So throw at him today and watch what happens. I'm just saying.
I do think it'll be interesting if one of the key Braves guys get beamed in the first game. Like, I mean,
if I do that based off of an argument from last year, you think?
Yes.
I'm sorry, BJ. Are you petty? Because I'm petty. We got a little petty in us. I tell you what, if they want to police itself, as Kevin be saying, hit Freddie Free. I bet you Freddie Free don't want them benches to clip. Hit Ronald Acuna Jr. That's ridiculous, man.
I mean, I will say this: if I'm Sandy Alcantara and the Braves come up the bat in the bottom of the first inning, and Acuna gets hit, come on, first batter, it's on from the jump. It's going to be a long series
because of what happened last night. They want to release some frustration. Somebody got to get this.
I know, BJ, you don't believe in that, but no, the Braves and the Marlins, feisty against one another.
I like a good rivalry. I don't want to see guys getting beamed. I think that can get a little dangerous potentially.
Oh, well, if it happens, watch out. It's going to be fight night, Fight Island out there at Truist Park for the Braves and the Fish. Sandy Alcantara, Huascar Ynoa pitching for the Braves. Your matchup. We'll have coverage for you coming up in about 7 minutes or so from right now. So stay tuned. Braves baseball coming up right around the corner. We will see you tomorrow. 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.